Alright, Shalom. Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to begin this lesson by giving all glory, all honor, and all praises unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Racha Kodash, Barakatam, giving double honors, double unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who surely do well. To the men standing by the highways and byways pushing this doctrine, I'd like to say Shalom. Even unto the sincere the sisters who sit listening to these lessons in silence, subjection, and obedience unto their husbands, I say Shalom. Alright, this your brother here, Maya Shahala, coming back to you again with another bed of edification. So the word here from the Merriam-Webster Dictionary definition: tribulation. Definition: a distress or suffering resulting from oppression or persecution. Also, a trying experience. Seeing this word used as an example in a sentence: the trials and tribulations of starting a new business. And what am I thinking of this topic here, and what am I going into this word, is this precept you're going to see pop up on the screen. If it is, bear with me. Acts 14 and verse 22. Confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them, meaning to encourage them, to continue in the faith, and that we must through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of heaven. And that I'm thinking of this topic here. We not getting out of here. We not gonna enter into the kingdom of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yoshai without going through some shit to get there. Salakia. I want to read this precept in the NIV. The book of Acts, chapter 14 and 22. Reading the NIV Bible. Strengthening the disciples and encouraging them to remain true to the faith, we must go through many hardships to enter the kingdom of power, they said. So what we not gonna attain unto the promises that will be bestowed from since way back when unto Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, unless we suffer to get there. And this is a message that is echoed throughout the scriptures. You have to go through that fire. There's the book. If you could bear with me here. The book of Sirach 2 and verse 5. For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. So what the Lord has likened the men, the elect men, the ones that he has accepted, which is he would have echoed that statement to Elijah or Elisha, if I'm not mistaken. I have reserved unto me 7,000 men who will not bow the knee unto the image of Baal. 7,000 representing what? A complete number of men who will not bow the knee. And what? That not bowing the knee symbolizing of what? Not giving up when, them hard times reach. That is the message we get from it in these times. It's Zechariah 13 and from verse 8. And it shall come to pass that in all the land saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein, and I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined. What is fire? That is representative of affliction, again, as we would have read in that Sirach 2. And will refine them as silver. Third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. Again, gold is tried in the fire. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say it is my people, and they shall say Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, is my power. So we understand how the elect going to deal with the tribulation that is set to come upon the earth in these last days. And we know this tribulation coming because, again, to enter into the kingdom that is so very near upon us, which is look up for your redemption right now. So what? We know the redemption coming because we see the tribulation coming. The tribulation gonna come before the redemption act. There's I want to read this in the, if you bear with me here, just want to get the translation, the New English Bible Apocrypha, right? So the New English Bible Apocrypha, and I'll read 2 Ezra 7 from verse 6, likening what this experience will be likened unto for the elect. Or again, imagine a city built in a plain, a city full of everything you can desire, which is what the immortality for to come, but the entrance to it narrow and steep, with fire to the right and deep water to the left. So the afflictions or the trials and tribulations you're going to go through before you reach, where you're going, right? There is only the one part between the fire and the water, and that is only wide enough for one man at a time. So you can't walk with nobody. You could walk alongside brethren, but every man in his own walk, right? Every man had to take this path for his own self. If some man has been given the city as a legacy, how can he take possession of his inheritance except by passing through these dangerous approaches? That is the only way, my Lord, I agreed. So the only way to get to the kingdom promised to us is to go through the straits, the narrow gate that you're going to have to pass through to enter into that white city. He said to me, such is the lot of Israel, because this is for the Israelites. Salvation is only for the nation of Israel. It was for Israel that I made the world, and when Adam transgressed my decrees, the creation came under judgment. The entrances to this world were made narrow, painful and arduous, few and evil, full of perils and grinding hardship. But the entrances to the greater world are broad and safe and lead to immortality. All men must therefore enter this narrow and futile existence. Otherwise, they can never attain the blessings in store. Again, reading back that Acts 14 and 22, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must, through much tribulation, enter into the kingdom of power. So we're not going to attain unto the promises until we go through the hardships. And we know the hardships coming, thus say the prophecies. Right? They Jeremiah 30, and we're going to read from verse 4, and I'll even read this in the NIV, because I like to see what the translation would say here. Okay, just give me a minute, right? They Jeremiah 30, and we'll read from verses 4 in the NIV. These are the words Yahweh spake concerning Israel and Judah. This is what Yahweh says. Cries of fear heard, terror, not peace. Ask and see, can a man bear children? Then why do I see every strong man with his hands on his stomach like a woman in labor, every face turned deathly pale? How awful that day will be! No other day will be like it. It will be a time of trouble for Jacob, but he will be saved out of it. So what? We know the terrors are soon to come upon the earth. We're seeing manifestations of the prophecies playing off. We're seeing what? Example, the great US of A, Babylon, that great whore that sitteth upon the beast, is currently, or had currently, come down upon the nation of Venezuela, which we know that the tribe are the Asherites, where the majority of the Asherites dwell, as pursuant to the prophecies that Deuteronomy 32, Asher shall dip his feet in oil. So what? We see tribulation. We see even in Babylon itself, we talk about the ice raids, and we see ice even coming down more and more heavy. They gain more power now, and what? We'll read news articles about it saying anybody basically could join ice once they're willing, they'll get them a weapon in their hand, and the ice is being used by the US to oppress the people, especially the nation of Jacob. And what? That is what the prophecies say. Reading Jeremiah 37 in the KJV, alas, for that day is great, and that day going into a period of time, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it, and what? That day will none be like it. We understand it never gonna have tribulation or trouble with the elect, and by and large the whole nation of Israel had to go through ever again. It's going to be this one last final hurdle, this one last final battle, one last distress that the nation of Israel has to go through, and then they will enter into the broad. In Daniel 12:1, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. Which, that's going to lead me to another precept I have in my head, Ezekiel 9, because, everybody being found written in that book, that really speaking to what the ones who were given the mark of exemption, the Tawara, in the Hebrew, right? But I just want to go into this word here, trouble. It's from the Hebrew Strong 6869, to Zara. To Zara. Straits, distress, trouble, vex a rival wife. Origin, Strong's definition, feminine of Hebrew 6862. Tightness, that is figuratively trouble. Transitively, a female rival, adversary, adversity, affliction, anguish, distress, tribulation, and trouble. So what we know in the nation of Israel is set to go through in these last days. It's the straight gate. They're going to enter into that straight gate. They're going to pass through the straight path, and that straight is Strait, which having to do with what? Difficulty. It's going to be a difficult path. You're going to have to walk in these last days. The nation of Israel are going to go through another wilderness experience where, they're going to be tried. I think the Lord said it as well. If I could get I believe that it goes along the lines of prove you. Let's see. Let's see. Alright. I didn't find the precept, but it went along the lines of Moses, that I explained to the nation and the people of Israel that what? The Lord brought us through this wilderness experience to prove us. Let me see if it's that same Deuteronomy 13. Nah, it's not that. But the point is what? Moses would have exhorted the people and let the people know that when they went through the wilderness experience, after they came out of it, it was what? What was the point? It was to prove the nation of Israel, to try them and test them. And what? That is how the Lord does operate. With that Daniel 12:1, it make mention of what? If I could just get back the wording, it says what? And there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And we know the times coming upon the world to try the elect and to try the whole nation of Israel was never times that we ever went through before, nor will we ever go through, such as great time in Matthew 24:21. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. So what the times that coming upon the earth going to be great, very, very great, very, very great, and they're going to be full of distress. So much distress that the world had never seen before, but the world will never see it again. Because we know after the pressure and the pain, it's pleasure, it's enjoyment, right? That is what that precept now come to my mind. All right, the Ezekiel 9. Because we understand that again, these perilous times that to come upon the earth are prophecies. Ezekiel 9, and we'll read from verse 4. And Yahweh said unto them, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. So what are the prophets? They're looking at the world and the state of the world, in this time, and they're saying, we ain't like what's going on here. So what they're crying out, they're speaking out against all the abominations that be done in the world, right? And the Lord said, mark them, men, because what they were found worthy to escape waiters, they're going to read about here in verse 5 and 6. And to the others he said in mine hearing, go ye after him through the city, and smite. Let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. And this is why that Jeremiah 30, from verses 4 to 7, why it was likened unto that time, or how awful that day will be in the NIV. Verse 7, no other will be like it, but it will be a time of trouble for Jacob, but he will be saved out of it. So what? It's going to be a time of trouble for Jacob, and what is because of these mighty angels that the Lord going to unleash in these last days. Verse 6, slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. So what? The tribulation coming, the trials coming, but we know what? Through the tribulation, through the trials, the elect going to be spared, they're going to be saved. They're going to what? They're going to, as Acts 14:22 says, they're going to be confirmed as disciples. And what? Then they're going to enter into the kingdom of power. They Matthew 5 and read in verse 10. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my name's sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad. So rejoice over the tribulation, rejoice over the persecution not coming. Be happy with it. Because what? After you go through all of that, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. So again, what these things were written aforetime, and they were written for our learning. It's to help us gird up our minds and stand stiffly in our minds against all the trial and tribulation that's going to come upon us. It is you could look to it in the book of 2 Maccabees 7. We see what those 7 children went through, and the mother. That time coming again for the nation of Israel. Even when you go back to Genesis, after Esau would have realized that Jacob would have supplanted him his blessing this day, he said, what, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I seek to slay my brother Jacob. And what? That is Revelation 12. There Revelation 12 and verse 12. In fact, let me get this in my sword. Get that 2 more precepts now come to my mind for this revelation as well. And so there Revelation 12 and 12. Therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he had but a short time. So it's Genesis 27 all over again. As Jacob is set to inherit his blessing, as he's set to get blessed from the Lord, Esau is seeking to slay us again. Revelation 2. And verse 10, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer, and thou shalt surely suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried. Going to that word tried. It's from the Greek 3985 pyradzo, to try whether a thing can be done, to attempt, to endeavor, to try, make trial of, or test. Ye shall be tested. That ye may be tested, and ye shall have tribulation. Again, that word tribulation, Acts 14:22. 10 days be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So this message is echoed throughout the scriptures. It's not new. You want to gain all the pleasures that life had to offer, but you had to go through the pain. Revelation 3:10. Because the Revelation 3:10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, where it is the elect doing in these days, preaching, prophesying, and doing the due diligence to make the calling and election sure. I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So we know Revelation 12:12 says it's gonna be the devil coming down upon us with great wrath. Revelation 2:10 saying the devil gonna cast some of us to prison. Even when you read Revelation 20, Revelation 14, it speaks about the martyrs, those being beheaded, those who not loving their life unto death. So what gonna cause all of this? To try them that dwell upon the earth, right? This word here, try, goes to the same so, but I believe when you go down to the Strongs, I think it goes trial by piercing. Right. Strong's definition here, the Greek 3984 from the base of Greek 4008, through the idea of piercing, a test, that is attempt, experience. So what we know that the trial that is set to come upon the earth is a trial that's going to have a piercing involved. And we know when you go into that Revelation, the biggest prophecy we could talk about in these last days is Revelation 13:16. What he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. And you know, when you go into that word mark, it goes into the Greek charagma, and then when you go into the charagma, in a deeper sense, right, you go into the word charax, which is what? The tool, the marking or cutting tool that will implant the charagma inside of you, and that is the ultimate test that the elect do not have to pass, and they will pass. Which is if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. But again, as the Lord say, I have reserved 7,000 men unto me which will not bow the knee. Even when you read that second Ezra chapter 2, it goes into what he began to commend them who stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord. So it have a group of men who gonna pass that test. And we know they're going to pass it because ultimately, again, that is the prophecy. And this could be the closing precept here. The Revelation 7:14. And I said unto him, let's see, I'll read from verse 12. Verse 11, and all the angels stood round about the throne and about the elders and the four beasts, and they fell before the throne on their faces and worshipped power, saying, Amen, blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and might be unto our power, for ever and ever. Amen. And verse 13, and one of the elders answered, saying unto me, what are these? Speaking about these 12,000 from the 12 tribes, which you'll read higher up in this chapter, the 144,000 chosen ones, as spoken about in Revelation 14:1. Then stood the Lamb on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000. Right? So, yeah, what are these? Which are arrayed in white robes, and whence came they? Which also as well speaks about the entirety of the elect, because also high up in this chapter it speaks about what? That innumerable multitude. Even when you read that second Ezra chapter 2, it speaks about what? The crowning ceremony, right? Those that were sealed in the feast of the Lord. And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest. And he said to me, these are they which came out of great tribulation. They came out of great tribulation. I'll even read this in the NIV as well after I read it in the KJV to close. Came out of great tribulation and have washed their robes and made them white. So what, they went through that fire and they became purified, right? And made them white in the blood of the Lamb. So again, Yahushua is the key to all of this. Unless the blood of Yahushua covers you, you ain't getting out of this alive. There's Revelation 17:14 in the NIV to close, and I answered, Sir, you know. And he said, these are they who have came out of the great tribulation. They have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying and that you were edified. In closing, I like to say, Kal Halal Yamla, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rucha Kodash. I give double honors, double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who surely do rule well, to the men standing by the highways and byways pushing this doctrine. I like to say Shalom, and even unto the sincere Aqua, the sisters who sit listening to these lessons in silence, subjection and obedience unto their husbands. I like to say Shalom. This was your brother Maya Sha'ala, and until next time I say Shalom.